What is Halloween? This is Dive, a podcast about where our Google searches take us. Tweet us at HDDive. I'm Cody, and I'm here with my friend Dano.
Greetings.
Daniel.
Oh, wait, I already said greetings once. How about, hello there?
Okay. Yeah, sure. I mean, they're not going to respond back either. So. They're tweeting us now like, excuse me, you said greetings before and I didn't get a chance to say hello back. Getting back on track here now that we've got the pleasantries out of the way, I want to talk about a very important holiday.
You have to be referring to the Celtic festival of Samhain, right?
Actually, Diwali happened on October 27th. That was yesterday, and yeah.
Awesome. Congrats.
Nope, I am talking about the ancient Celtic festival of fire, Samhain.
Did I just say congrats to Diwali? We're going to have to do an episode on that holiday because I don't know anything about it at all.
Yeah, I don't know. Remember that Office episode where she's like talking about Diwali and she doesn't know what Diwali is?
I don't remember that one, no.
Anyway, we're going to talk about Halloween, everyone. We're talking about Halloween, okay? The joke's over. We're talking about Halloween. Get off it. Leave Diwali alone. This is Halloween. This is Halloween. 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 This is Halloween.
You can tell we're fired up for Halloween.
I am generally a fan of Halloween, but not necessarily in my adult age do I care at all about like the candy parts of it or the trick-or-treating parts of it. I have grown to really appreciate the scary parts and the Halloween movie parts so much that that's what I look forward to. And it's the lead up to like the happiest time of the year too, so I'm just getting into it.
Yeah, it's kind of the gateway to better things. I think Halloween is pretty good. It's okay. I don't love it. It was fun trick-or-treating as a small chai.
Did you go trick-or-treating a lot?
So I was trying to think back at all of the costumes that I wore and like what other things did I used to do. So
and like, what other things did I wear?
The other things I wear besides my costumes. I remember as a child having multiple Halloween costumes year after year where I was inside a box.
What?
Yeah. So like one of them I was a knight.
Hold on, did your mom make all your costumes?
Of course, yeah, never store-bought.
See, I was all about I was like a latchkey kid, right? Like it was not we didn't make our costumes. You bought the costumes, like the shitty plastic costumes.
Oh no, complete opposite here. This is DIY. So I was a knight once, and I do remember that I had a box as the parts of the armor. It was on my legs and on my torso. I had a dowel, like a wooden dowel wrapped in foil, was my sword, naturally. And I had a helmet that looked a lot like a motorcycle helmet that a Lego character would wear.
Perfect.
Yeah. And it was red. And I think we wrapped it in foil, actually. I was really big into foil.
I was a huge supporter of aluminum foil. That's aluminium for you UK folks.
Big into foil. And another year was a robot. I was a robot with a lot of foil. So
with a lot of foil.
Yeah.
It turns out that your mom just really she got like a super coupon for aluminum foil.
Yeah.
Paid 36 cents for 10 years worth of foil. Had to use it some way.
Gotta use it up. It's going to waste. What are some of the costumes that you remember?
So I remember, I feel like I don't have a lot of good Halloween costumes as a kid. So one year I remember that I went as Robin from Batman and Robin, but I was really pissed off because it was cold that year, like really cold. And my mom made me wear a jacket over it. And this was the 90s, everybody. Yeah. So jackets weren't like concealing. It was like a puffy kid's jacket over my Robin costume.
So it's you just went as Cold Robin.
I just went as Cold Robin, like health conscious Robin, who didn't want to catch pneumonia.
Yeah.
It was pretty sad, but it had like the plastic mask that your face had to fit perfectly or else you couldn't see and or breathe. Like you couldn't do both. You had to pick one.
Right, of course.
And so like if you're keeping your face warm though, because you're breathing into the plastic like this, so it's like
So it's Darth Vader cold Robin.
It's pretty bad. Yeah. No, it was rough. And so like the next year, I remember I was hell-bent that I was not wearing a mask. And I could work it out because I didn't want to wear a coat either. So I decided I was going to go as Dracula.
Before we get into Dracula, I have to ask you, why didn't you shoot from the moon and go for Batman? You went as the sidekick? You intentionally went as a sidekick?
Listen.
I'm listening.
Listen. Robin was agile. Batman was a brute.
He was.
I was agile, quick. I could leap. My nickname as a child was Monkey Boy because I like to climb on things a lot. And in the version of Robin that I had, he was like a trapeze artist and his family had died. Do you remember that movie?
Not at all. You just made all of that up.
No, I didn't make all that up. True. No. It was Chris O'Donnell played Robin in that film, and he was the Joker was came down on a big bomb, and then like his family fell from the swinging trapeze, and then he was the only one that lived, and then he wanted to join Batman to get revenge on Harvey Dent. You don't remember this?
And then he went and cracked the whip on the racetrack. Yeah,
different decade. It was a different decade, Dan. So anyway, Robin is a perfectly legitimate and respectable choice, and I resent you, Sir Knight.
Okay, all right. So I have to tell you about some of my other costumes. Unless you want to talk Dracula. No, I don't want to steal your thunder there.
I have to talk Dracula here because this became a very important moment in my life, and not for good reasons. So
I have no idea where you're going with this.
I decided to go as Dracula.
Okay.
So I slicked my hair back. I put in fangs. I put in dark makeup on my eyes. And I went out in all black, and I didn't have to wear a coat because I just wore a lot of layers of black, and it was great. And every goddamn person I went to thought I was Herman Munster.
Oh no.
The werewolf boy.
Oh no.
It was the worst night of my life. It was the worst Halloween ever. And so for the rest of my life, people would give me pictures of Herman Munster in my family all the time. Some of those pictures are still up on the mirror at my dad's house.
Oh my God.
Decades later. Decades, Daniel. Decades.
So what could you have done to differentiate? I feel like you needed like a suit and tie or something.
How was I going to afford a suit and tie? I was 10.
Get the prefab plastic suit and tie, a tuxedo t-shirt.
It was
I don't know.
Listen, we couldn't all have moms that made tinfoil helmets for us.
I could have made you a tinfoil suit.
I didn't know you. It was the worst. It was terrible.
That's rough.
And I'm pretty sure I had to carry around one of the plastic pumpkins when all I really wanted that was cool at the time was pillowcases for some reason.
No. Plastic pumpkins were the rage. I want everyone to Google this right now. McDonald's plastic pumpkin Halloween promotion. Listen, everyone had those.
Can you fit more candy? We grew up in different circles, Daniel.
We did. I know we did.
The kids in my neighborhood, my stomping grounds, if you will.
I will.
They were all about the cool pillowcases.
See,
you brought your cool pillowcase, but my mom wouldn't let me.
I never had a pillowcase. Plastic pumpkin for life.
She wouldn't let me. She would not let me take my pillowcase, which was NFL themed, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Naturally. Go
would not let me take my pillowcase out because I would lose it. So of course I was embarrassed.
Why would you lose it?
I don't know.
Why would you lose your candy? That's the worst idea.
It was the
ever.
1990s. It was a different time.
If there's one thing a child is not going to lose on Halloween night, it's the candy bag.
It's their Halloween candy.
Yeah.
So this has followed me, and it's been a dark life ever since.
It's understandable.
It's led me from being Robin to Batman.
Maybe you just should have went
a troubled adult trying to vindicate his mistakes from his youth.
All right, so I got to do you one better.
Okay.
I was roadkill for Halloween one year.
Ow!
I was roadkill. I dressed all black. All in black. I painted my face black. And then I drew a yellow stripe, 2 yellow stripes, all the way down from the middle of my forehead, straight down to my crotch. So that was the road. I was the road. All right? And then I went to Salvation Army, or the Goodwill, For those out there who don't have Salvation Army and don't know what I'm talking about, basically a place where you get used clothes. Thrift store. Got some stuffed animals, cut them into pieces, and got fake blood, and basically glued the stuffed animal pieces onto my body and added fake blood around them, and I was killed.
Can I ask you a question?
I don't know.
How many animals did you murder before you were 10?
0 animals. I swear to you, 0 animals.
How did you come up with that?
I feel like, so it was the last costume that I ever wore. I think it probably was 6th grade or something like that. So I was like definitely on the older side, probably ready to not be trick-or-treating anymore. I don't know. I have no idea how I came up with it.
I feel like that was about the last time I went trick-or-treating as well, was somewhere around the 6th grade.
Yeah. Before high school, because then you're trying to be too cool, you know? You can't trick-or-treating.
The last time I went was with Dustin Benham. And we went
from the past. Wow.
We went out in like where he lived. And that day I had a pillowcase, mind you.
Of course.
And our goal was to fill up our pillowcases completely.
Wow.
We did not succeed. You don't understand how much candy that actually
is. That is an obscene amount of candy. Yeah, that's like 10 pounds of candy.
It's a lot. It's more than that if you have candy. Like, it's 10 pounds of one baby. That's all I go up with off the top of my head. 10 pounds of one baby. It was probably a quarter full at the end, and that was probably 10 pounds of candy.
Damn.
Wow. And that was a long night.
Yeah.
And that's when you don't have to go with your parents either. I don't know if you ever didn't go with your parents.
Maybe just the roadkill year.
That was who do you go with? Did you go with Kyle?
Friend from middle school. This was when
person you don't talk to anymore because
Correct.
Their friendship isn't as worthwhile as mine.
Correct. Yes.
It makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. It checks out.
Yep.
That year, I'm pretty sure I went as nothing.
You just went as an angsty teen?
I may have gone with like a mask and didn't wear the mask, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I do remember one year leading from the Herman Munster thing, my father got me a werewolf costume or like a mask. So that was the thing. I probably wore that. That's my guess. It really stuck with me for a long time.
I can tell. Yeah. I think it's still sticking with you. To this day.
Definitely. I mean, if you look at me, I'm a pretty hairy guy.
True.
On my face and my head, not necessarily like my back or anything, but thank God. I don't know about back hair. I feel like it would be real itchy all the time.
Oh yeah. I got a little patch, but nothing crazy.
Being a werewolf in real life would not be fun, everybody.
No.
For those of you who are concerned about werewolves.
Especially come summertime, you'd have to shave that coat.
Oh, God. Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
So,
anyway.
We talked about our costumes, but like, we think of Halloween as a very fun time, and like you can get into a little mischief as a teenager, and then when you're an adult, you kind of just go to parties. Do you still go to Halloween parties?
Up until last year, I think so. We didn't hear a single word about a Halloween party this year, so I don't think we're going. Yeah. I think, I feel like we've outgrown it, or I don't know. Maybe people are just not having parties or just not inviting us. We're not cool enough. I don't know.
Yeah, you're married now. Nobody wants to hang out with you.
No, that's a fact.
Like last year, they gave you the benefit of the doubt, thinking you'd still be the cool young people.
No.
But you're not anymore.
Mm-mm.
You're in your PJs pretty early.
Yeah.
You're drinking like a vodka soda.
Oh, I was gonna say Zima. But yeah.
Yeah, no, she's drinking a Zima. You're drinking a vodka soda.
Yeah.
Get a little belligerent, watch a little Hell's Kitchen, and fall asleep, you know?
Yeah, sounds about right. Right.
Yeah. I feel like I haven't been to a Halloween party in like 5 or 7 years. It just like kind of lost its appeal, and a bunch of adults dressing up and pretending to do Halloween is a little uncomfortable for me at this point.
So yeah, it's like middle school, it's all the rage. Elementary school, all the rage, and then you hit high school, you're too cool for that, and then you go to college, and it's like huge again, right?
Yeah, massive.
They just turn every costume and make it sexy, like sexy Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
or whatever, you know.
I mean, in college we had that Jersey Shore party. That was
fun, actually.
That was a good time.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're talking about Halloween, right?
It
kind of lost its appeal, but like, where did it come from? Like, how does this thing start and become what we know it as today, of just like an American commercialization of candy and booze?
So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to bring this full circle right back to minute marker 1 in this episode.
Okay.
when I mentioned the Samhain
Hello.
It was the pagan Samhain festival. You have to remember the best times were had at the Samhain festival. You know, cutting the heads off of cows and pigs, wearing them around your own head.
I remember that fondly.
Yeah, getting hitched at Samhain. Do you remember that? I was the first one to bite into a floating apple, so I was allowed to marry, and you didn't get it.
I didn't. No, I was really pissed that day.
Yeah.
I had my eyes on Schiffenhelmer, and she went to you. She went to you.
She did, and we've made beautiful children ever since. We would dance, we would sing, you know. We would impersonate the souls of our dead family members so that they didn't come back and haunt us. Those are some good times, man. Those are some good times.
Family activity.
Yeah,
is really what that resembles.
Truly, in the highest form.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine a time where you had to sacrifice living things to gods, to ancient gods, to keep them at bay from infecting your family with sickness?
Yeah.
Terrorizing the land with pestilence,
destroying crops, essentially make it so you don't eat for the winter.
It doesn't make sense, though.
It doesn't.
When we were looking at this, sacrifices do not make sense, people. Hear me now, for all of you who are giving blood sacrifices to your deities. Imagine this. It's a beautiful October 31st, and you and your village decide to go out and light bonfires and sacrifice cattle. That god, if they exist, is pretty pissed at you for killing a thing they created and then giving it back to him. It's like a cat that brings you a rat and is like, "Here, look, it's for you." And you're like, I don't want that. Why did you ruin my doorstep with it? I made that thing. It was perfect. You're not even going to eat it? What happens then? And let me ask you another thing. If they're sacrificing these things to feed these spirits or gods, which one of the people in the village knows what's really up and goes and collects that in the middle of the night?
Because someone's going back there and grabbing that and cooking it, right?
They have to, or the wolves are getting to it, and then you've just wasted a cow. Those things are thousands of dollars.
I don't think they had the concept of dollars back then, but I'll buy it.
Thousands of pretty stones.
For thousands of stones, yes.
Thousands of stones, because stones in my scenario are worth value.
Now, we joke about it, but this is something that actually real life happened. So the Celtic festival of Samhain, which essentially translates to summer's end, was a day where they would celebrate the end of summer and the beginning of winter. So that veil between the living side, the other world, and our world would be as thin as it could possibly be, essentially. So they're saying that at this point in time, the souls that have departed us could potentially come back and be visible in our world.
What I found really interesting about those facts is they talked about how they moved from east to west in the direction of the sun because of the way that it's working, right? Daytime keeps going west of us until you hit the coast, and how they would kind of follow the sun with like sacrifices and things like that. I for some reason picturing that in like, I don't know, like for some reason the Highlands or something like that, or Ireland really. So it's not really the Highlands, I guess. They're following the path of daylight to kind of connect with their relatives and the sacrifices. And at times there were articles written about how they would see in early colonial days, like 30 or 40 fires on hilltops on that night. And like people still celebrated this even when they came over, even though it was a little bit more different because of the Protestant presence in New England. But it followed itself all the way over to America. I don't want to say pagan beliefs because then that assumes like Christianity has to be the thing, but it really was a pagan belief, right?
Yeah.
The idea of these polytheistic beliefs of sacrifice and your luck kind of running out.
Yeah.
That's it's strange to think about that kind. I'm not a superstitious person. I don't believe in deities and stuff like that. So it's interesting for me to pay attention to the fact that not all that long ago in human history, people were still doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking probably, thousands of years, but not much beyond that, a couple thousand years ago. They were doing this, and fire was a big part of it. So you mentioned fire. They would have the sacrifices, cattle, different types of farm animals, different things that they would do to celebrate this. They would wear costumes. They would essentially dress up as the souls of the departed, or they would dress up with the animal skins, animal heads. They would tell each other's fortunes. They would have say if something sounds familiar, speak up here. They would have a ritual where young unmarried people would bite into an apple floating in water or hanging from a string, and the first person to bite into the apple would be the next one to be allowed to marry. People would go house to house in costume and reciting verses or songs in exchange for food. They would impersonate the souls of the dead with their costumes, like I mentioned, and they would receive offerings on their behalf, similar to the custom of souling, which is something that was introduced when Christianity sort of took over pieces of this festival, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But, impersonating people or impersonating souls wearing a disguise, it was believed that they would protect themselves from those spirits if they dressed like them.
They like walk up and it's sort of like the mirror game.
Yeah, it's like, and then you raise your left hand, and then this ghost raises its left hand, like in a Scooby-Doo.
What's mind-boggling to me is the bobbing for apples.
How weird is that, right?
Hey, man, if you get that apple first, you get to marry Broomhilda.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. Yeah. All you have to do is take a bite of that apple before Jimmy over there does. And they have Jimmy and Broomhilda.
Yeah.
It's not like I realize I'm mixing cultures of people that didn't actually celebrate Halloween, but it makes it funnier. So just roll with it. Additionally, now when you bob for apples, because you all know now that you're listening to this, it's not funny. We're making fun of child brides. It's not funny. It's a problem.
It is a problem. It's a big problem, actually. Maybe a problem for another episode.
If you win a candy apple instead of child marriage.
Yeah. Much more delicious.
Much more delicious and ethically appropriate.
Trick-or-treating, the whole concept of walking to different houses, saying trick-or-treat. The word trick. So I've always thought that trick meant like, I'm going to do a trick and then you'll give me a treat. But I'd never really made a connection like what it actually means. Trick actually means like, I'm going to pull a prank on you or I'm threatening you unless you give me candy. That's literally what it means.
At what point did you figure that out? Because that was always the thing for me. Like I was never about to dance for my candy. Like
I think it was about...
Listen, Grandpa, you give me that piece of candy or I'm going to egg your house.
I think it was about a week ago when I realized this, when I was doing research for this episode. So they would go door to door. They would go house to house asking for food. And if they didn't get it, they would perform a trick, which is mischief, which is a prank, which is like toilet papering their trees with all the toilet paper they had back then, 2,000 years ago. And if no treat was given, they were pretty much free to do whatever they wanted. And when they were walking around house to house, they would carry turnips, carved turnips with grotesque faces on them.
Like jack-o'-lanterns?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Scaring away the souls or protecting themselves from the, malignant or benign. What's the word? Malignant souls out there.
I mean, I would be pretty terrified of turnips. If you boil them and put them in butter, they're delicious. But if they're looking at you with a face.
Yeah, right? When I picture a carved turnip, all I go to is like the shrunken heads. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's what they look like, shrunken head.
Yeah, so they're probably scary, but they hollowed them out. They lit them on fire. Like all of this stuff is things we still do today. We didn't know why. I have no idea why we do the things we do until I started researching the history behind it. Because it's so common now to just like, oh, we're gonna carve pumpkins for Halloween.
I don't think I've carved a pumpkin in years.
What?
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, no, I don't actually even give out candy on Halloween because I live in the middle of nowhere.
I've never given out candy in my entire life.
Well, I can't imagine all that many people are trick-or-treating around you.
No, not to like apartment buildings,
No.
But yeah, all of these things that we just consider such commonplace now. It's very interesting beginnings when you start digging in.
All right, so we started with this Celtic holiday, right? It's come very far since then, obviously, but there had to have been a midway point where it became less about pagan worship and more Christian-ish because of the way that America influenced everything that other people did ever.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and that happened right around 600 AD when the Pope decided November 1st was to be All Saints' Day. So All Saints' Day is a day where they celebrate All Saints. Makes sense. And Halloween is the evening before All Hallows' Day, which is a Christian holy day. And giving the holiday the 31st of October, the full name then becomes All Hallows' Eve. So Halloween is a kind of a direct, not translation, but a different way to pronounce All Hallows'
derivative
Eve. Derivative. There you go. Thank you for that.
Yeah. We're smart people.
Yeah.
We have educations.
Yeah. And so they kind of took on a lot of those traditions that the pagan holiday would celebrate. So souling, which is what I mentioned earlier, was a custom of baking and sharing soul cakes for all christened souls. And it was the sort of the Christian origin of trick-or-treating. So groups of poor people or children would go door to door during All Hallows' Eve, collecting soul cakes in exchange for praying for the dead or the souls of the departed.
It's amazing to me how influential that would have been for so long, and now we're right back to going out as demons and devils and things like that. Well, I mean, that's a transition in itself, right? Because pagan celebrations weren't necessarily about the devil, obviously.
True.
Because that's a Christian thing, or like demons. It was the souls of the departed. Like, they weren't really there to murder you. They were there to kind of wreak havoc while they could talk to you, unless you did the things.
Exactly. And so then it became more of a Christian thing. And now I would say today it's kind of just we do it just because. We do it because we've always done it. And so Christians would carry around lanterns made of hollowed out turnips or pumpkins or gourds, things like that. And that was the start of the jack-o'-lantern, which is, of course, now essentially the symbol of Halloween. But it originally represented the souls of the dead. So it's kind of like the Celtic pagan tradition. The festival happened, and then the Christians came in and made it all about saints. But they used the exact same celebrations.
Well, that's what you have to do to kind of bleed something out of a culture, though, right? You appropriate everything they do and then make it yours so that it becomes less unique, and then their culture's squashed.
Right. And they're not going to say, you're not doing this anymore. You can still do it, but you'll do it our way, and you'll celebrate it the way we want it celebrated.
Dick bags.
Dick bags. But it's not precisely known where the phrase trick or treat came from. This is another fun fact that I found. It was coined, we believe, in around 1951. When trick-or-treating was depicted in a Peanuts comic strip. So, and then 1952, Disney produced a cartoon called Trick or Treat featuring Donald Duck.
Makes sense.
Yep. And that's what we say.
There was, I read an article that it was in a newspaper article that in Canada, where a guy referred to what they were doing as trick-or-treating. But there wasn't much other than that. Mm-hmm. So, like you said, you can't pin it down. This guy had essentially was describing Halloween, like, and then the children were out trick or treating,
tricking or treating.
Yeah, and like that's kind of where it took off a little bit, but it's hard to like. It's hard to know that something so integral to a holiday, you can't figure out exactly where it started.
Yeah, right. Yeah, all the different appropriations by different groups, and it kind of molds it and shapes it, and then pieces come in and out. Like we don't wear cattle heads on our heads anymore so much.
Well, speak for yourself, but
we do a lot of the things that they used to. Right? I mean, trick-or-treating, carving pumpkins, getting candy. For us, it was actually roasting pumpkin seeds. Did you ever do that? I guess you said you never really carved pumpkins that much.
No. In the last decade, I have not.
Oh, okay.
As a child, I 100% did, and yes, we roasted the pumpkin seeds.
Love it. That was the best. A little salt on there. Fantastic.
Very good.
But yeah, all of those pagan traditions, and now Christian traditions, and now kind of non-secular traditions these days, it all went through phases and shaped it into what it's become.
Yeah, and now it's literally just a monopoly on candy and capitalism.
Yep. Yeah.
$6 billion annually on Halloween.
Crazy.
That's not just candy. That's decorations, costumes, parties. Like, that's $6 billion a year on something that people don't actually understand the origins of and just like to get into the spirit of. Mm-hmm. I mean, that can be said for the majority of most holidays, right?
For sure.
But this is the thing that truly has no like cultural value, I don't think, in my opinion. I'm sure that there are people who celebrate certain religions on those, like, isn't Day of the Dead the day before? In Latin American cultures.
I think it's right around that time. I'm actually Googling
so like
as we talk.
those things, but they're not the same as Halloween.
Yep, it's
because
October 31st to November 2nd.
Okay, yeah. So like they have actual rituals and celebrations that they do, and it's not just about dressing up as I don't know, whatever's popular these days, going out house to house and expecting candy from people you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine how much help that is to the economy at the same time. A quarter of all the candy sold in the U.S. is purchased for Halloween.
That's insane.
25%. If it didn't exist, Nestle might be out of business.
Yeah, really. Seriously.
Whoever the hell is buying Necco wafers, that's that day. That's it.
Do you remember wax lips?
Yes, I do remember wax lips.
I looked this up today. You're not supposed to eat those.
What do you mean you're not supposed to eat those?
You're not supposed to eat those. You're supposed to chew them and spit them out. Same with wax Coca-Cola bottles.
I did know that. You're not supposed to eat those. You're supposed to suck them out.
Yep.
You can chew on them if you want, but they don't recommend it.
Yep. It's so gross. Those are probably the nastiest candies. Those and the little candy buttons that came on the piece of paper.
No,
Remember
have
those?
you ever had a Necco
Terrible.
wafer?
Oh, well, Necco wafers are awful as well.
Necco wafers are truly the worst candy to ever exist. They taste like nothing, and they're just chalk.
How do we feel about candy corn, though? Because I feel like that's pretty awful, too.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of candy corn. I think that, it's neat. You put it together, and it looks like corn, but boy, oh boy, does it not taste good.
I love the conspiracy theory that all candy corn was produced like 20 years ago, and they haven't made it since.
Yeah.
It's just all leftover from the first time they made it. Sounds about right.
Ugh, terrible stuff.
I'm not a big chocolate eater, so I would swap all of my chocolate candy to my brother and sister, and they would give me their sour candy, which was a pretty good deal for me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you love sour candies.
Love sour candies.
I tend to not like candies with nuts in it.
Mm.
And so like I just kind of give those away, but anything fruit flavored, anything caramel, I'm down for, man.
Yeah, for sure. Man, such good memories.
Yeah. Did you ever participate in Mischief Night or Devil's Night, as it were, the night before Halloween?
Don't think I have.
That was like in my town, the thing to tell everybody you did, but you really didn't get into much mischief.
Sounds about right. There's always like that one tree that's toilet papered, but there's really no other mischief.
Yeah, like you throw eggs, but everyone's afraid to throw the eggs at the actual house, so you kind of miss a bunch. And
yeah, or like you want to like take a baseball bat to a mailbox or a pumpkin that's carved on someone's doorstep, but you don't actually do it. You kind of just like kick it.
Yeah,
just like
the assholes
showed
did
you.
though, because every year, like our pumpkins were smashed out in the road though. Like people would be too afraid to do it on your own property. They'd go and take them because it's the middle of the night and nobody's going to see you do it. But then they would break them in the road. But also, why would you care at that point? Because Halloween's over and you don't have to clean it up anymore.
Yeah, and the pumpkin's half rotted anyway, so
yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's fine.
Nobody cares. I think it's interesting how Halloween kind of there's two pieces to Halloween in my mind. You have the commercialized part of it, like the fun part that everybody kind of gets along with, and then you have this association with like darkness and evil and magic that comes with it as well, that you don't get to explore very often, but all the movies revolve around it, right? All the movies revolve around like ghosts and demons and the devil and the supernatural and things like that, and it's never about things that actually were celebrated or practiced. That's why I like scary movies so much, though. That's why I like Halloween, to learn about that kind of stuff. For a long time when I was a kid, I was afraid of tarot cards.
Oh, interesting.
But as I get older, I think that those things are more interesting, not because I believe in them, but because it's something I don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
It's an activity in which that I've never participated in, but a lot of people do, and a lot of people believe in those kinds of things, and a lot of people like the fortune telling and how a lot of stuff can happen on Halloween because of that veil, but it's not associated necessarily with the way it was celebrated before.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the coolest thing that I researched and I found out about Halloween. It's like the whole concept that the bridge between the living world and the world of the dead is the closest it ever is during this time of year. That's the belief, because we're transitioning from fall to winter. Everything's dying. It all makes sense when you think about it. That's the coolest part about Halloween, is all of these things, except maybe the wearing the dead animals on our heads. It all kind of makes sense, right? Like the whole thought concept of the holiday. It's like, okay, I understand that. I understand why they would think that is the time of, passing on from living to dead.
Yeah, and sometimes I think about, like I said, like I don't really believe in like the afterlife and things like that, but to contemplate a physical connection with the whatever the other side would be during that time is so intriguing that like I probably would have fallen in line with all that too.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? The opportunity to connect with deceased loved ones, or the opportunity to kind of experience something that you wouldn't see. Name a time in your life where you've experienced something supernatural, right? Like people claim it all the time, but it always sort of sounds the same. And this seems like there are going to be there are a lot of instances where this was practiced for a very, 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 very long time.
It was, yeah.
And people were, yeah, sure, they were naive about certain things, but this was a part of their culture. This was a part of like the realness of, even before Christians took it over. Like the afterlife and spirits were a real concern and appreciation and devotion to something. I don't know where I'm going with that. I just find it really interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm on board. And like even today, like you said, we still have a lot of people. I flip-flop. I think there's some weird things out there that we can't necessarily explain. But I think a lot of it is sensationalized, or people lying to capitalize on the human, idea that, oh, there could be something out there, and is it after me? Like, who's to say, like, why are all ghosts mean? Like, yeah, if I'm coming back, if I'm dead and I'm able to come back as a ghost, I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be evil. I wouldn't haunt people. Like, we don't hear about any good ghosts, Justice for ghosts, man.
Casper.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Casper the
friendly ghost. 1 out of a million.
It's in his name.
Yeah.
Jesus, the Holy Ghost.
True.
That's 2. The Ghost of Christmas Future.
Yeah. What's past is the worst, right? He's the dickbag.
Oh, no. Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come is the bad one.
Oh, right. Yeah, because it's like showing the future.
To be fair, arguably he was the nicest one, because he's like, get your shit together, Scrooge.
Yeah, he's the one.
I'm trying to help you, bro.
Yeah.
Ghost of Christmas Present may or may not have been the biggest dick. He's like, look, everyone else hates you. Ghost of Christmas Past was like, bro, you were a good guy. What happened? Come on.
Yeah.
So they're all flawed. Ghosts are flawed too, everyone.
They are,
Ghosts are flawed too.
Because they are people still,
Yeah. I think I am more prone to believe in like aliens than I am spirits.
Oh, definitely. Oh yeah, for sure.
The idea of intelligent life forms somewhere else is much more realistic to me than dying and going somewhere else. But then again, I don't know. Maybe there's another dimension we don't know about, and that's what all this really is. Like your essence or soul or whatever truly just goes on afterward, and like you may be lost or stuck, or you don't know where you're going, or I don't know.
That's the biggest mystery of life.
Man, now I'm in some weird introspective thought.
I know, man.
This podcast was a dumb idea. Dumb as hell.
This is Dive. Tweet us at HD Dive.
As always, just remember, trick or treat, smell my feet. Give me something good to eat. If you don't, I don't care. I'll pull down your underwear. We'll see you next week.
Love you. Say it back.